Good afternoon and welcome to another day of Big Pats Under the Hood. Today we're going to be addressing cylinder heads, compression ratios, types of piston, the reason why you run a certain type of piston, valve interference, cam lift, lobe displacement angle, and types of cylinder heads. Let's get into it. As you can see, if you don't know, these are a set of Mark IV Chevrolet big block heads. The number you see here, the L381, is the month, the date, and the year that this head was made. This 81 means that the head was manufactured in the year of 1981. And for all of you millennials, that was far into the unleaded gas situation, meaning that the heads had hardened valve seats in them so they could be able to be used with unleaded gas. This other number here is the casting number. This is the number affixed to the head. You always, as you can see, that is 346236. Here again, 346236. This head was also made in 81. It was made 3 days after the other head I have it, but they're in the same series. Both of these heads are part of the unleaded gasoline era, which started in 1975. So that means you have a pair of heads. Remember this, always start out with good cores, a completely assembled head block, and make sure that the heads are matched. If you're doing, doesn't matter if you're doing a 6.0, 5.3, 4.8, if you're going to use whichever head you're going to use, make sure they're a match set. Make sure that start out with a match set, because that means that the heads are cast the same way and they will flow the same amount. Now, let's get into pistons. Most people that build engines, if they've been around doing it a long time, they're going to talk about flow. They're going to talk about the cylinder head flow. They're going to talk about CCs and stuff like that. And so for all of you guys that, I know most of you guys understand that this is what's called a open chamber head. They have two types for Chevrolets. They have an open chamber, which is this one, which is oval. And they have one that is slightly higher that is called a rectangle port. Most of the 427s, 502s, and 572s, they would use a rectangle port. Some of the 454s that were the 470 horsepower and 450 pound-foot of torque engines used a rectangle port. Only because at that time, that was the highest velocity head that you could get from GM. And you could get that in an iron head, or you could get it in a GM Winters snowflake head, which is hard to come by now, but Edelbrock and different vendors now, for some years now, have been making the aluminum heads, and they're great. They're a great product. But the engine I'm building is an iron-headed engine, because I'm not going to do any racing with it or anything like that. It's just going to be a very mild street engine. And so my pistons of choice for years have been the flat top. I built a couple of 454s and 427s that had a raised dome. They would call high compression pistons. But with the driving the vehicle every day and running 93 octane, years back, it was discovered that you could use a flat top piston and you could run anywhere from 8.5 to 9.5 to 1 compression, and you could still make very respectable horsepower and torque. You could make in upwards of 450, 500 horsepower, depending on what your intake, carburetor, camshaft, and exhaust was about. But I'm going for something a little more mild. I'm going for about 400 horse, 470, 480 pounds of torque. And I'm going to be using a transmission that a lot of people have discarded in favor of the 4L60, which I have here. I have a 4L60 here, 460 that is out of a 2008 GM Tahoe. This transmission right here. 460. You see that? You guys know the code. But I'm not going to use this 460 because that would mean I'd have to convert my gauges and everything over to electronic. Instead, I'm going to use the daddy. I'm going to be using the daddy of the 4L60, which is the vulnerable, very vulnerable 700 R4. 700 R4, very good transmission. Doesn't need a computer in order for you to use the transmission. It could be used without a computer. You can even achieve lockup in it by just buying a 4th gear piston and putting a 4th gear piston in the valve body, which will allow it to automatically, once it goes into 3rd gear and the pressure is up on it, it will automatically go into lockup, which is what 4th gear is. And when you slow down, because of governor and everything, when you slow down, it will automatically come out of lockup. It will automatically come out of lockup and go into just regular normal driving. And you achieve that by using a throttle valve or TV cable. The engine that I'm gonna do all this work to is this 40 over 454 block here that I've had for quite some time. As you can see, it's already made a trip to the machine shop. That's already been done. And it needs to make another trip. There's no freeze plugs in it, no cam bearings, anything like that is in here. None of that's in this engine. So I'm gonna take it and drop it off and have it vetted again, and have it vetted again, and have the cam bearings in it, freeze plugs, stuff in it. And I'm gonna bring it back, put on that engine hoist over there, take my rifle brushes, clean it up real good. Take my rifle brushes, clean it up real good, oil it up, grease it up, and start to assemble it. I have a host of parts already here because, like I said, I bought the engine complete. And I have the valve rocker arms here, the fulcrums, timing cover. I also already have rings for the engine for 40,000 because I was putting things together a little bit at a time because I knew I was going to build the engine for something. I didn't know what I was going to build it and sell it, or whatever, or what I was going to do. But you know, here's the piston rings here. Here's the piston rings here. And for it, 40,000. Here's a timing set for it there. I also have lifters for it as well for the engine. And so it's got a host of parts and stuff for it. But what I'm gonna do is, like I say, there's the oil pump for it. It's a standard volume. And there's the oil filter adapter. A little secret is what you can do if you want your oil to be always filtered. You don't want to bypass this plug right here. So that plug can move in and out. Well, with that plug moving in and out, what this plug moving in and out, what this does is let it, when the engine's cold, it'll let it bypass. But what you can do is remove this plug here and close it off. Put a pipe plug in it. And what that'll do is that'll let the engine always force the oil through the filter. It will be filtered regardless. It'll never bypass. It's very seldom that one of the engines will bypass this bypass, but you just never know. So in a race application, you want the oil to be filtered all the time. And so that's what you'll do. You'll take and put that on there so you can have the oil filtered all the time. These are the headers I've been using for years. It's a brand of header that I always use. I've had really good luck out of this brand of header here. And as you can see, it's a Hooker Supercom. I've had a lot of good luck out of these headers as far as rusting. They're rusty now because I've sanded it down. But as far as fit, comprising everything, they're really good. You buy good parts, they'll stay with you a long time. So as I say, you know, thanks for always watching. Share, please subscribe and like, because I'm a guy that just does regular everyday builds, whether it be an engine, a transmission, a rear end. And as you see, I have a couple of LS powered vehicles of my own. But this channel is geared to the older vehicles. 82 Monte Carlo Super Sport, 82 short wheelbase pickup. Those are the two vehicles that I'm working on as we speak. In the future, it'll probably be a 66, 67 Chevelle, something like that I'm gonna put the engine that's coming out of this truck, that 454 4-bore main, in that vehicle. That's the reason why I'm keeping the engine complete, because I'm gonna build it for that Chevelle. So when that comes, after I finish both of these, we'll start that build. But have a great day. Remember, share the video, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you so much.